Well, hey there. Whoops. We're doing good on Thursday. Welcome to So What, the Marketing Analytics and Insights live show. I am Katie, the incompetent button pusher. I am joined by Chris and John. This week, we are talking about YouTube SEO and content strategy. Chris and I have covered YouTube SEO before. However, it's actually a really interesting topic, and we wanted to recover it and refresh it because there's still, at least, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, there's still this misunderstanding that you can SEO optimize your YouTube videos because YouTube is a search engine. It's a social media platform, but it's also a search engine.
It is a search engine. It's the second largest in the world, right behind Google itself. And people go to YouTube for lots and lots of things. I mean, anytime that you break something in your house, you go to YouTube. Go, how do I fix this thing?
That's me. Or if you get a new oven with an air fryer, you YouTube how to use it.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that in there. Now, we covered the basics about a year ago, and the basics haven't changed, right? Uploading, basically, if Google gives you a feature, you should probably use it. When you're loading up a video. Like recently, they added if you flag your video as an educational video, it'll ask you what's the topic of the video, is it associated with a university course, things like that. So the basics are pretty much still the same. What I thought we would cover on today's show is trying to get an understanding of what's working from a topic perspective, and then doing some forecasting based on that, because what we know is that people use YouTube differently than they use Google search. The habits are different, the types of searches and time of year are different, and what people like is different. So I thought that would be a good place to start. What do you think, Katie?
No, I think it makes sense because, and maybe you'll get to this, but one of the things that we know is that if you're using Google Trends, for example, to try to figure out what people are searching for, Google gives you the option of looking at the Google search versus YouTube search because they know that it's two different systems and they know that the behavior is different. So therefore, you should treat them as differently as well. Using your SEO keywords that you use in Google search doesn't necessarily translate into YouTube.
Exactly right. So the first thing we should probably start with then is our own videos and just get a sense of what's working, right? So we've got 170, I think, different videos on our YouTube channel of, a variety of different topics and things like that. And if you recall back to about, I think it was the fall of last year, we looked at how do you just organize and understand your videos by topic. Well, one of the things that I put together was I wanted to understand, is there a relationship between the different topics in our YouTube videos and the outcomes we care about? So putting together a correlation matrix, we have all the different topics we've covered: Google Data Studio, data itself. These are all keyword based, right? Influencers, Google Tag Manager, so on and so forth. And we have our major metrics like watch time, views, likes, and impressions. Views is one that I think is probably one of the more helpful metrics to look at. But obviously, trying to dig it out of a correlation matrix is a sure way to get an eye doctor's appointment. So what the easier way to look at that? I went to the wrong window. Here we go.
See, we're all having trouble with the buttons
Exactly.
Today.
Is okay. Obviously, views correlates perfectly to itself. What are the other things it correlates to? And this is just a standard Spearman regression. You can do this in any statistical tool. Obviously, strong relationship to watch time, to likes, to impressions, to subscribers, games. But look at we start getting to the topics. All things Google, Google Analytics, the So What video series, all these have done reasonably well in terms of getting views, right? There's a statistical correlation. Then we get down here into SEO, and now we're starting to get into the statistically less valid section, right? And then you go all the way down here, and then you get towards the end. The podcast is negative. Podcasting itself as a topic is negative. Change management is negative. Average viewed percentage. So that's interesting. There's a inverse relationship between the number of views and how much of the video people watch, which basically shows people are dipping in to check it out and then bouncing right out. Right? They're not sticking around. And then the Trust Insights podcast has actually a very strong negative correlation, which I found interesting and slightly concerning, because it essentially is saying people don't watch.
Well, it's a podcast, and so we record it so that we can put it up on YouTube, but as a podcast, if people weren't downloading it and listening to it as an audio file, then I would be concerned. I think YouTube is a nice to have for our podcast, but for the most part, I don't sit and watch people record a podcast personally.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because you just put the whole episode up there, right? It would be interesting if you took 1 minute clips and tested those and see. Because I think the length is what's killing you. I would imagine the average podcast is longer than a lot of that other stuff up there.
Sounds like we need some shorts, John.
Damn it. I was waiting for the chance to get shorts in there. I'm all about the shorts.
I feel like I missed something, but I'm also okay with that.
Google Shorts are... Google announced that this year part of their strategic drive is to get these YouTube Shorts going. And so they're trying to go toe-to-toe with TikTok and with Insta videos. So yeah, so it's all shorts all the time with YouTube.
I thought you literally meant like short pants.
I know.
It's very confused.
The jokes write themselves with this. It's unbelievable. Like you're going to spend all day in your shorts and you're going to be working on shorts.
Well, it works with the RFP, request for pants.
This is it.
All right. And, we're back.
All right. So the next logical question is, how do we then decide if we know broadly topics about stuff like analytics and things are working, how do you go about getting a sense of what could actually work? It's not going to be from YouTube itself, but one of the places you can go is your SEO tool of choice. And this is true for pretty much all of these tools. It's not anyone. We're using the Ahrefs tool, but again, SEMrush supports this, Moz supports this. And like you're saying, Katie, in the beginning of the show, you can choose which search engine you want to use. So for keyword scoring, so we have Google, YouTube, Amazon, if you're doing Amazon shopping stuff, Bing, Yahoo, Yandex, Baidu, etc., so on and so forth. So let's just take a real quick look here. This is our keyword list, the Trust Insights keyword list. And we see on regular Google search, in terms of the things that people search for the most by volume, Google Analytics tops that list with 813,000 searches a month, followed by Google Trends, Search Console, SEO, so on and so forth. Right? This is this is what I would expect to see. When I flip over to YouTube,
I didn't know that this was something you could do with your SEO tool. This is a learning moment for me.
Yes, it is. With YouTube, the volumes are much lower now, 41,000 instead of 800,000. And look at, like, Google Analytics drops down to 6,000 searches a month, right? From 800,000 in regular Google search. So we have very different topics here of the keywords that we all like to think about and talk about. AI topping list, affiliate marketing, machine learning, SEO, data science, social media marketing. So on a forecasting basis, or at least on I guess in more of an explanatory analytics basis, we see that this is very different. The things that people search for on YouTube definitely looks different than regular Google search. And some of the other topics that we talk about a lot, let's go like down here, management consulting, only 1,000 searches a month for that. Change management, 1,000 searches a month for that. So it's not a surprise to me also. When we think about the Trust Insights podcast, we've been covering a lot more stuff like change management and things, which on YouTube doesn't do as well.
And it makes sense because some topics lend themselves better to written content. Some topics lend themselves better to more visual and video content. So that doesn't surprise me at all. To have a talking head explain a change management process, probably not a super fun video to watch, versus to have, data visualization explained on a video, probably a little bit more interesting.
Exactly. So we have now this quick look at our same keyword list. So this is the same keyword list that we're using for our regular search engine optimization efforts, now mixed up for YouTube. So the next logical step would be, can we forecast out these terms and get a sense of when we should be creating content around these things? Of course, the answer is yes, because this would be a terrible show if the answer was no. I'm just guessing.
That'd be a very short episode. It would also be hilarious.
It would be very short. So here, this is the Google searches. And again, we can see the volumes, week by week. This Google Analytics peaked at the beginning of the year, and then we see spikes, May, June, July, September. So there's peaks towards pretty much the end of every month when people are trying to figure out how to use their reporting for regular Google search. But if we flip over into YouTube, different story, different look. Right now, so the general term marketing obviously has the highest search volume on YouTube for the month. We see AI dropping down here in mid-March, coming back up in April, and then June. It's interesting. We may want to talk to our friends over at the Marketing AI Institute, because their conference is in August, and August is when this thing is down kind of in the valley of despair, that they may want to move their promotional efforts, at least for video, back all the way back into June.
Because we had done an exercise like this last fall, when I'm planning out our editorial calendar, depending on the kind of content that we're creating, I use a different predictive calendar. So I have the YouTube predictive calendar, which I use to plan out the episodes for the live stream, versus the regular Google search calendar that I use to plan out podcast episodes, blog posts, those kinds of things, for this exact reason. If I was just using the Google search calendar to plan out all of our content, I'd be missing a lot of things.
Exactly. So in terms of like what we should be doing, we have SEO. SEO is actually an interesting one. For YouTube, it has a very strong seasonality, right sort of in the middle of the year is where you see a nice big bump for that term specifically. So it's something to keep in mind. We have affiliate marketing, which always seems to be showing up from time to time. Machine learning. So let's go into machine learning here. Again, it's interesting that all the AI and machine learning stuff has this sort of mid-year peak and then just goes away. So to the extent that we should be starting to think about shows on YouTube in May-ish to try and catch that wave, we definitely should be. Let's see other things that some stuff I would have expected to do better. Stuff like social media, for example, kind of just meh.
Well, I mean, what's missing from this keyword list is any sort of context around the kind of thing people are searching for. Like, how do I put together a social media calendar versus just social media, which is, you could talk about 1,000 different things about social media. So that's sort of what's missing here is, do I want to watch a demo of yet another social media platform, or am I looking for a specific thing?
Exactly. And so that brings us to your general content strategy around YouTube. So one of the things that YouTube itself recommends is sort of this hero hub help model. So you create a lot of help content, and help content is content that you are making that just answers generally, how do I do these things. Hub content, sort of like a bigger idea, sort of a monthly promotional idea. And then your hero content is like once a quarter, a big thought piece, sort of a why kind of a really broad appeal. And when we think about now these different topics, let's take artificial intelligence. Well, let's see if I can find my mouse first. Take artificial intelligence here. If I were creating help content, it'd probably be just a year-round thing. How do I, for example, vectorize text for natural language processing? How do I build a confusion matrix? How do I interpret the results of a confusion matrix? Like you said, Katie, very tactical, straightforward stuff. The hub stuff, I would think we'd be trying to aim for, some of these minor peaks, something from when you see a little bit more strength from search, to say, okay, we're going to spend some money. we're going to spend, some ad dollars, maybe engage our design team to make something that doesn't look like I put it together in the middle of the night while, just half asleep. And then the big peaks are the ones when your hero content should go out. So I would say if we were going to do like a piece on hero content, we would do launch it mid-May for something on AI, because that's when we know, for YouTube at least, that's when people are going to really be paying attention to this topic. So it's not just a question of the Hero Hub help model arbitrarily just throwing out content as you create it or as you have a budget for, or maybe just on a calendar, but trying to time it to when interest in that topic is going to peak.
So we have a couple of questions, Chris. And John, I apologize. This means your face is going to disappear for a second. There it is. So Jesse commented, I think it's both about content fit, but also about audience. Now, Chris, you've done some extensive research on audiences on these different social platforms. He says, I would expect YouTube is going to be younger, which means different interests, which is true. Different interests on YouTube versus Google search. Something like change management is going to be searched by a manager, while artificial intelligence could be searched by students. What do you think about that angle, Chris?
The audience on YouTube, again, because of its massive footprint, is pretty much just the audience of the internet. There's not really a major demographic skew on that platform, as opposed to, say, a TikTok, where there's definitely an under 30 skew. YouTube is pretty much used by everybody. Not necessarily just the platform itself, but when you're browsing around from page to page, like if you're on the Trust Insights website, we've got videos embedded, you're using YouTube, and that data shows up in YouTube. But the point about interests is definitely on target. Someone, again, looking for change management, probably YouTube is not the first place you would go to for change management stuff, right? You're probably thinking more a book about change management. It's just not super, at first blush, it's not the sort of thing that you would go to YouTube unless you were thinking about, can someone explain how this works or what this thing is? Sort of educational content, like from my one of my kids, whenever there's a topic in school that their online course is doing a terrible job of explaining, send them to YouTube and say, go find another video that explains it in a way that you can understand it. So there is definitely that intent angle that I think is 100% correct.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about YouTube, or search in general, if I'm searching what is change management, I'm probably starting with a Google search. And if there's a relevant YouTube video, that will come up in the search. But again, I personally don't think that a talking head of someone explaining what change management is going to be a really compelling piece of video. I could be wrong, but I don't really think that it's going to do that well.
One of the things that you can also do in your SEO tools, and again, this I'm going to flip over back to Google search here. So I've got my Google search for our keyword list. If we want to get a sense of maybe what some of the topics that we might want to create videos about, because of what you just said, Katie, I'm going to go to search features, and I'm going to say, show me search terms where video is included in the search result.
Can you show that video, Chris? The screen.
Oh, whoops. That would help, wouldn't it? Let's go back.
Makes for compelling video.
It makes for compelling video when you can't see it. Okay, so I've gone back to my Google search. I've turned off the YouTube search here and gone back to regular Google search. And now I'm going to go to search features, and I'll say, show me only search terms where videos are included in the search result. You'll notice it's not exact, it's not identical, but there is more of an overlap here with the YouTube list than pure Google search, right? So we do see, social media, affiliate marketing, artificial intelligence and stuff showing up here. These are the terms where there is a video thumbnail or videos themselves in Google search results. So again, if you think that there's an opportunity here, you might want to create videos for this. Now, if you want to get even fancier, let's cap our keyword difficulty at 50. So basically we're saying, I'm not going to try and compete with the big boys, right? So these would be the terms where I could show up in search results with a video, but I'm not in a knife fight with McKinsey, for example. So the management of change, 7,400 Google search results where a video is included as well. Prescriptive analytics, descriptor, TikTok analytics, which we'll have to save. Remember that for when we put our TikTok paper out in a couple of weeks. Google Analytics for beginners, R for data science. So again, we're just in a straight up SEO tool seeing, okay, these are the kinds of things where we might stand a fighting chance of showing up for these particular topics if we can create YouTube content and optimize it.
Yeah, same with CPC too. It's crazy. Management of change is not even a tenth of what, paid for change management is.
Exactly. Dagmar was asking, where do we find this predictive calendar? We make that. So that is something that we have our own software for. And it is a paid service, and John will be happy to take your number after the show. Jesse said, shorts are insane. Definitely worth trying them out. I wear shorts all summer long.
I don't.
We'll be here all week, ladies and gentlemen. Try the deal.
Oh, we are the worst.
We really are. Okay, so when we think about the Hero Hub help model, we want to try and time the different components of the Hero Hub help model to when we know search volumes are going to be working in our favor, because why otherwise would you not do that?
Right.
The other thing that is really important with YouTube, and it's not a search thing, but it is an effectiveness thing, is to the extent possible doing collaborations. YouTube is a platform that really does a great job in encouraging collaboration and helping you work with other groups to sort of share audiences. So if you were to go to YouTube, let's go to just straight up regular YouTube here. Oops. Awesome. YouTube. Let's look for musical group, first to 11. You will notice that a fair number, and this is something that musicians do really well, a fair number of these are collaborations with people, and when you do your promotions with them, you can obviously tag people in and stuff your things full of links and stuff, and share audiences. And YouTube really works well for cross promoting, for helping you cross promote on your videos with other audiences. So if you've got something that you've identified another YouTube account that is at parity with yours, right? So if you've got 1,000 subscribers, they got 1,000 subscribers, you can probably team up pretty easily. It's not going to work out so well if you have 1,000 subscribers, they've got 1 million. They really wouldn't be a reason for them to work with you. But when it comes to collaboration, this is a way to build and grow your YouTube audience to get links to your YouTube account. So you can see here, this Brooke Surgener is linked up within this video. So remember that YouTube is run by Google. Google's a search engine, and it's predicated on the network graph. So if you can essentially get inbound links to your YouTube channel from other videos, it will benefit your channel.
So all the same pillars of SEO that we talk about with Google search apply then to YouTube search.
Many of them do. YouTube apparently, at least from what I can tell, has not yet inherited the BERT language model for more in-depth queries. That seems to be a Google search. YouTube's search engine still appears to be very token heavy, meaning individual words and sort of biograms. The last fully revealing paper we have about YouTube's algorithm is still from 2016, and it's individual words and stuff that are factored into how it serves up requests.
And when you say words like that too, so that's then based on title field and meta descriptions, right? It's not on automated transcriptions or anything like that.
It is. So it does include the closed captions. It's one of the reasons why in our basics of YouTube video from a little while ago, we said every video that you load up, if there are terms and jargon that you use in your industry, you should be loading your own closed captions.
Interesting.
One of the things that I've noticed and has actually gotten really good if you are in the video production space is Adobe Premiere now has built-in transcription, so that as you're editing your videos, it can create the transcript for you, publish the closed captions file, and you can also burn the captions into the video itself if you want to have captions. So like when we produce our shorts for TikTok and Instagram, I am burning those captions now straight into the video, and it's built right into the tool.
It's built into your shorts. Excellent. I'm loving it because I thought I would be the one that would be abusing this to death. I'm so psyched Chris is the one that's like can't stop.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Well, I feel like a lot of times I've seen a lot of videos, uploaded to YouTube from other B2B companies, and the lack of any kind of transcription or just general description of the video seems to be a missed opportunity, because that is a big part of how people are finding your videos, not just the title of the video.
Exactly. The other thing is that YouTube's recommendation engine is really fast. It changes very, very quickly. So if you watch just 2 or 3 videos from a creator for a little while, you see a lot of video from that creator. You see it, and it gets shown pretty prominently. And so one of the things that I've been trying out recently, and I've seen some really good success with, is, and this is actually a recommendation from folks who subscribe to my newsletter, is turning my newsletter into a video. Let's go ahead back here, older entries. Wow, I make a lot of stuff. Oh, let's see. Most timely. I need to fix the search on my website.
I was gonna say, moment of truth. Here we go.
Exactly.
Every sales guy's hated demo.
No, it's totally fine. Let me grab this week's newsletter, because what I've been doing is putting the newsletter as a YouTube video. So when you go to the page, you can see watch this newsletter on YouTube, right? And you pop on over. Now on the site itself, in previous issues, I'm planning on putting the video player straight in. What you'll notice is that this cranks a couple of hundred views of a video on my channel, within 24 hours, right? It helps get content seen on YouTube really quickly. Logically, if I can get you to watch one video a week, right, through the newsletter, then you're going to see my other videos from that week. Since I'm publishing a video every single day, if I have that one, it's not true Hero Hub help, but there is sort of that tentpole strategy. If I can get you to see at least one video a week and get you keep coming back, then I'm going to take advantage of YouTube's recommendation engine to get you to be able to see the other videos on my channel. So this I found, I've been doing this now for about a month, and it does add time. It adds about an hour to the production time of each week's newsletter. But the results are really good because it's boosting my channel substantially compared to just publishing and doing the regular stuff of, having it in the blog post and then having it on social media. By having a lot of traffic get funneled to my YouTube channel, I do see really good results from it. Is
it literally just you reading your newsletter?
Yes, I read basically the cold open. And then I very quickly just narrate, and in this week's section, we have, the news, there's this, this, and this, check out our Trust Insights courses and so on and so forth. So there's it's mostly the long cold open.
Gotcha.
It's great. You can get more of the cool disdain that you really can't get from the newsletter, from a dry read.
What's also interesting is I've got an audio version too, because I just ripped this from video to audio, and even that gets 80 or 90 listens a week, because people want the different modality. But we'll save newsletters for another show. Just in terms of how do you get more people to see your YouTube content and to link to it and so on and so forth, putting it in your newsletters is a pretty straightforward win.
Yeah, it's just amazing because you've got that right side, content there. It's like, that's just such a huge honeypot. That's fantastic.
It is. So we're on the Trust Insights YouTube account, right? So This is literally, I typically don't visit my own stuff from my company profile. So just in getting this here, we've got a bunch of other stuff on my channel, and the show that we're literally recording right now. So again, if you can get people in, they're going to see your other stuff relatively quickly. Dagmar says most B2B companies aren't mature and leveraging YouTube. They use a video storage location to embed in their websites, so transcriptions are afterthought or omitted. They are. The other thing that I think is unfortunate is that when you load YouTube video to YouTube and you don't provide closed captions, YouTube tries to do it itself. And that never really goes well. There's an awful lot of really, really poorly interpreted words, especially if you're like me and you talk really fast, and YouTube just starts making hash of the words that you have to say. And Jesse says, recent 739 to embed YouTube videos in your blogs and product pages. Absolutely right. As long as the videos don't suck.
Well, yeah, but that's subjective.
It is. So that's sort of the content strategy side of YouTube, right? Take your predictive analytics for your content, make sure it's YouTube specific, apply your forecast to the Hero Hub help model, look for collaborators to generate those links from other channels to your channel, and then leverage the heck out of your website content, your email content, and so on and so forth to get people to your YouTube channel. And get them watching your videos. That's the key, is you got to get people to watch the videos. 30 seconds is all you need, because that's what YouTube counts as a view. And once you've got a view on the clock for somebody, the algorithm is going to temporarily work in your favor.
Well, and we talk a lot about the transmedia framework, where you record a video and then you can start to pull apart the pieces. So you can create your shorts, you can create your audio files, you have your snippets. So are shorts what snippets are basically? Like, is it the sort of the same? It's like a 30-second teaser.
Yeah, 30 to 60 seconds.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You didn't need a whole announcement about that, Google. That already exists. But basically, so create the video and then repurpose it for a bunch of other things. The other thing, so Chris, you were talking about the Hero Hub help and how your help content should be the most kind of content you're producing. I like to use websites such as Answer the Public that will give you all of those what, where, how, why, when questions that people are asking about that topic. And then you can just literally start ticking down the list of answering all of those questions.
Exactly. And the other thing that is a slam dunk and very straightforward to do is ask your community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we go to our Slack group and we ask them questions all the time. Like, hey, somebody tell us, how would you think about this thing, or what questions you have about this thing? And then you're getting authentic, natural language from other human beings that you can use as a basis for content.
Mm-hmm. John, final thoughts?
Check out my shorts. That's all I can say.
That statement is not endorsed by Trust Insights.
The jokes just write themselves.
I think we're done for this week.
I think so. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching today. Be sure to subscribe to our show wherever you're watching it. For more resources and to learn more, check out the Trust Insights podcast at trustinsights.ai/TI podcast and our weekly email newsletter at trustinsights.ai/newsletter. Got questions about what you saw in today's episode? Join our free Analytics for Marketers Slack group at trustinsights.ai/analytics for marketers. See you next time.